Godfrey Mutizwa caught up with Konrad Reuss, who's MD of Standard & Poor's Sub-Saharan Africa division, and asked him what he's looking for from these meetings.
One thing is that obviously there is a growing number of sovereign governments here on the African continent that have ratings from Standard & Poor's, from the other agencies as well. We at Standard & Poor's, we rate in the meantime in total 16 sub-Saharan African governments where we have sovereign ratings for. And obviously for us this is a great opportunity to update ourselves, to hear about the trends on the continent, to speak to the government officials about performance and really update ourselves on the ratings.
And in terms of the numbers that you're looking at, you're talking about 16 that you are currently rating now. Are you looking to increase those numbers? Potentially, where do you see those numbers growing to?
I certainly hope that the number continues to increase. Obviously, way back when in '94, South Africa was the first one we rated. Then it took quite a while, and it was really as of like 2003, 2004 that we saw a growing number of sovereign governments on the continent looking for ratings. And in the years to come, I would look at in countries like Tanzania and the Tanzanian government to look for ratings, one of the unrated governments at the moment, but they have made an announcement that they are talking to investment bankers about rating advisory mandates. That would be the first step to get rated. So I would expect ratings really from Tanzania in the near future.
How many governments are you talking to?
They are obviously the rated governments, but I see in addition...
Outside of the rated governments?
Outside of rated governments. I would see a handful of governments now that don't have ratings at the moment that could be seeking ratings in the medium term.
But you're not talking about... Have you come here, let me ask you, let me try and catch you out. Have you come here to downgrade the African Development Bank?
The African Development Bank has a AAA rating with a stable outlook. With the outlook, we are obviously indicating that we don't foresee a change in the rating in the medium term. The African Development Bank at some point several years ago was not rated AAA, sure. But we have seen obviously in particular also now with over the last couple of years with President Kabaruka managing the bank, we have seen the bank increasing its role significantly on the continent, yeah. And it is certainly among the multilaterals, and not only on the continent but in particular on the continent, it is a key player.
When you look at the impact of Europe that it has had on Africa, and of course when you look at the impact that Europe's financial crisis has had on the funders of the bank, is there any cause for concern there? Is there something in there that perhaps you could result in you looking again at those ratings for the bank?
When we look at ratings of multilaterals like the African Development Bank, we look at the shareholders, we look through to the shareholders, yes. And the support they can give to the institution. Yes. Now the support is obviously financial support, and there's always the question of is there the ability to support and is there the willingness. In the case of the bank, I think in particular given the important role it's playing today in the development of the continent, the willingness is extremely important, and we see no change on that front. And the key shareholders, European governments and the US government and others, and as well as some of the key regional shareholders, we have seen no change really in terms of the strength of the support financially and otherwise.
Okay, so let's talk about the biggest economy in Africa, of course South Africa, and the recent issues around the discussion of this funding principle, you know, the user pay model, as we have seen in the battles around Sandra. When you look at South Africa, I mean, this is a big year in terms of potential policy changes, let me put it that way. Do you see that perhaps the ratings that you potentially have on South Africa weighing more on the downside than on the upside?
We at Standard & Poor's, as you know, we have a BBB+ rating. It's a solid investment grade rating for South Africa. However, since earlier this year with a negative outlook. With a negative outlook, we are flagging downside risks, and there is a downside risk against the background that we have slow growth in the economy, we continue to see significant social challenges, and at the same time, obviously, there's sort of in a sense a heightened uncertainty, sure. On the political side, with the political debate, with regards to the political agenda. And when you look at Sanral, when you look at the ETOL fiasco, I'm tempted to say, you see how the uncertainty unfolds, and obviously for us it would be a negative if this results in sort of populist measures.
Even when the government is challenging that same fiasco, if you like, because we've seen Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan appealing the ruling on the ETOLs.
Yet obviously it shows how this year, in particular with the ANC Congress coming later this year, with the elections next year, how the political agenda is dominating really what is happening in South Africa.
But Konrad, others would say this is democracy at work here.
It is indeed, and we appreciate that, and I think that we have a policy debate is a positive. What, however, is important for us is the outcome of the policy debate, and if it's kind of a reversal on policy decisions like we have seen with the e-tolling, I think again that's not sending a consistent message.